They often tell us that we don't appreciate a good thing until it's gone, and for the 20 member institutions of Ontario University Athletics, this season has been like none other we've had before, thanks in large part to the coronavirus pandemic and the safety restrictions associated with that. However, there is hope on the horizon, and a lot of it comes from the Ontario University Athletics themselves. They're the governing body for all member institutions across the province of Ontario, and they will set forth a path for a safe return to play for all their member institutions. Gord Grace is the OUA president, and he joined me this week to discuss the current and future state of university athletics across the province. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. I began my time with Grace by asking him to assess the current state of university athletics across the province.
Well, I'd say it's this, Kevin, that it's in a state of flux. Obviously, we're working hard to build a plan for next year, a recovery plan for sport. But when I say in flux, what I mean by that is there's a lot of factors that will come in. How do we deliver sport next year? And probably first and foremost is the health and safety of our student athletes, our coaches, and our officials as it relates to holding on to games. So the vaccination schedule has a big part in what we're able to do next year. So, it seems like more and more things are getting positive about the vaccination schedule. More and more OUA schools are announcing they intend to be back on campus delivering education next year. So that of course has an impact on what we can do. So although it's not completely clear yet, we are surveying and consulting with our members on what sports should look like next year, sport by sport. And that's what we're doing right now.
And how hopeful are you about the forecast for the future?
I'm optimistic, but I'm optimistic by nature, I guess. It's funny, we're all the same. We watch the news, we try and gather information and understand where COVID is. Some days it looks a little bleaker than other days, but more recently the news I think has been more positive. Schools have announced, like I said, that they intend to be on campus and delivering education in a more normal fashion. And, for us, we're committed to playing sport next year. The thing that probably is the most uncertain is when that will take place. Fall sport is what we're focused on right now because that's the closest to us. And so if we are able to get back on campus, then we can offer more. If things are delayed in the fall, it's our hope that we could provide experience for all our sports, but maybe not in a normal time frame.
And I know that the OUA recently unveiled their anti-racism platform, so I'm wondering if you could tell me about that as well.
Yeah, no, it's been a work in progress for some time. Our Black, Biracial, and Indigenous Committee, which originally was a task force, has done some really good work in identifying issues and opportunities for us to address social injustice across our system and any anti-racism issues that we face in the OUA. That committee is being supported through a major survey that is going on right now. We partnered with the Ideas Lab, which is at the University of Toronto, which studies anti-racism or racism. And so we put together a major survey. I think as of today, we have something like 6,500 respondents to that survey. So there's a lot of work to be done yet, but that committee and our membership and our board are committed to making change.
And as the governing body of the of Ontario universities as it relates to athletics, I'm wondering your thoughts on the role that your association plays in helping universities financially recover, and how you think competition may look different next year.
Well, one of the things that we're trying to do to alleviate financial hardship on our schools is just by addressing some of the major expense areas that are traditional with university sport. So, for example, where you play within the province. This is a big province, and so where you play in the province has an impact on your budgets. And so one of the things we've talked about is reduced travel schedules, more regionalized play, less games. So those are the things that have gone into play to help ease the financial burden on our schools. Most of our athletic departments are funded through student fees, but they're also funded through ancillary fundraising efforts like summer camps, golf tournaments, renting facilities, and things like that. So there's little that we can really help in that regard, but the one thing that we can help with is reduce the cost of sport. And so that's what we're trying to do to help our schools.
And I'm just curious, because I know you used to be the athletic director here in Windsor, so I'm curious how you think the pandemic has affected things such as recruiting and the ability to help universities recruit kids to schools.
Yeah, I mean, recruiting has been challenging for coaches. I know that, for obvious reasons. You can't travel like you might do. You can't meet in person like you might do. The only thing, I guess, that in some ways that makes it a little easier to accept is everybody's in the same boat across the country. It does become more difficult, as things change across the country at different timetables. So, for example, if a kid is able to visit a campus, an incoming student, I should say, is able to visit a campus at UBC and can't come to the University of Windsor. So it is different that way. But there's certain things that we just can't control, and those restrictions that are in place by the health authorities are there for the right reasons, and so we need to follow them. I do know this, that youth sport, which really manages the overall rules relating to recruiting, they've standardized the situation across the country so that you're not getting significant advantages by being at one part of the country versus another. For student athletes, I do feel bad for student athletes because the picture they're getting of the institution they might be interested in, or trying to compare different schools, is not easy to do when it's just all virtual or all digitally. There's nothing like getting into a campus and visiting a campus and seeing the facilities, getting a sense of the vibe, meeting with the coach and the assistant coaches and other teammates. That's what we used to do when we recruited. We made sure that an athlete understood the culture of the program, and the way to understand the culture is to come visit and to hang around with other student athletes, to get to know the coaches over a few days. And so that's been eliminated. So it has made it difficult, I think, for student athletes to really choose schools. But like I said, it's something that I think every coach, every program's had to face.
And I'm just curious also to get your thoughts on the dynamics between the student athlete and coach relationship and how that might have changed over the past year.
Yeah, I think it's been challenging for our coaches and challenging for our students. I mean, our coaches are teachers, they're mentors, they're very involved in the lives of our student athletes. And so to be only able to do that remotely and periodically, I think it's been difficult mostly for the student athletes. They like that level of support. Now, many of our coaches have been committed to weekly meetings with their players, and of course, for a while there, we were able to get on campus and train and things like that. So that's what I mean. It's been kind of an up and down relationship, but I think our coaches have done unbelievable work, shown great leadership, keeping their teams together, staying in touch with their players, and trying to keep their programs healthy. So hats off to our coaches for amazing effort.
Absolutely. And Gord, I'm also curious to ask you about diversity in sport in regards to student athletes who don't continue their athletic career but are still interested in sport, and also for students with disabilities who may be interested in getting involved in sport. What are your thoughts on the importance of diversity when it comes to employment opportunities?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and this is not just OUA sport, but I think as a society we need to make changes. I mean, systemic racism is out there. It's a problem. Nobody can deny that now. So we have to knock down those barriers. We gotta be intentional in making programs available so that people can develop careers. And, you know, we've seen this Kevin, in professional sports, like the NFL have the Rooney Rule and things like that. We are just one area within a university. So our influence at the OUA is somewhat limited in that, you know, we can't enforce hiring practices, but we can influence, we can create pathways, we can create internships, we can partner with different coaches associations on creating internships and scholarships and those sort of things, so that we are developing the next generation of BIPOC sports leaders. And there's a couple other programs I'm working with, the Black Talent Initiative, which is basically doing that across all sectors, but there's got to be ways, and we're working on those, to create those opportunities so that, you know, people can pursue any career they want. And we need better representation in OUA. We do. You know, the student athlete representation is wide variety in that we have a lot of student athletes, but we don't see that reflected in senior leadership and in coaching. And we're working on those things too.
And Gord, I know that you recently have been given the position you are in right now, so I'm curious, what do you hope your legacy is through the position that you currently serve as president of the OUA?
Oh, that's an interesting one, Kevin. My legacy. You know, I guess I don't look at it really from a personal perspective. I just like to think that whatever we do right now is going to have positive impact. So, you know, relating to our BBI work and our diversity work, I do hope that, you know, by us taking a leadership role in it, and we were the first conference to do this in university sport, and I think we're having an impact across the country, is that if it does make some change happen, which I'm positive it will, I'll take that away and be pretty happy about that on a personal level. You know, it's a big organization. I don't think people are going to remember me much when my time comes to go. But if I can have an impact on the next generation of leaders in university sport and participants in university sport, I'll be satisfied with that.
And Gord, I know that you spent many years as the athletic director here at the University of Windsor, so I'm curious what you miss most about this area and the impact you were able to make while you were here.
Yeah, no, we loved Windsor, Essex. You know, our kids were raised there. I'm from Chatham, so Windsor was always kind of my backyard growing up. So Windsor, Essex, Kent County is is, will always be home to us. What do I miss most? Well, I have my favorite restaurants. I enjoyed going over the border and all that sort of stuff, like everything that's available for Windsor people. Toronto people don't get it, to be honest with you, Keith. They go, Windsor, is that way down there? I said, guys, like it's good down there. Lots of water, better climate, easy access to the States, professional sports. It's a great area, it really is, and good people. And what I miss most, though, from a professional standpoint, and this is just nature of my job, is that I just don't get to interact with student athletes and coaches on an everyday basis. That's the challenge of running a league. It's very not bureaucratic, but it's very administratively driven role, governance and policies and things like that. I miss walking out to a basketball practice or a football practice or a volleyball practice and seeing athletes play on a daily basis and getting a chance to interact with them. So that's really what I miss the most about the job, but I miss a lot about Windsor Essex as a whole.
Absolutely. There's nothing that replaces the value of human connection, huh?
You got that right.
So, Gord, I know that you also graduated the University of Michigan, and as you know, they just won the Big Ten Conference. So, as an alum of the school, I'm wondering what you think about that.
No, it was great. Juwan's doing a great job, and to clinch a title, especially beating the Sparties, is awful good. Yeah, go blue. I'm glad to see they're doing. I still have my season tickets for football. And of course, I didn't get to any games this year. So like everybody else, I love university sport. I enjoy university sport on our side of the border. I enjoy it on that side of the border too. But yeah, I'm a Wolverine fan, no doubt about it. So I did notice them knock off the Spartans last night, which was pretty good.
I thought you might have noticed that, and as I tell my brother Keith, at least one half of the athletic department can beat Ohio State. So we got that going for us, right?
Well, I saw you were wearing your OSU colors today too, though, Kevin. So I'll let that slide. That slide. What logo do you have on today?
It's an Adidas shirt. It's not.
Oh, it's just Adidas. I thought you might have snuck a logo on there. All right.
No, it's just an Adidas shirt. We're covered that way. So. My brother wouldn't talk to me if I was an Ohio State fan, so I can't do that. And yeah, my final question for you is, if anybody wants to connect with OUA, how can they do that? And what has you most excited about the future of university athletics across the province?
If somebody wanted to get in touch with me, I'm at Gord Grace at OUA. Reach out to me if you'd like to. If it's about career opportunities and things like that, you're welcome to call me. We're a small operation. We have 7 full-time people, but we manage one of the largest, if not the largest, university sport conference in North America with 20 teams, 20 members, that is. We actually have 480 teams, but 20 members and 9,500 student athletes. So it's a challenging conference because we are so diverse in sport. We want to be more diverse in leadership too, as I alluded to before. But what's got me excited about it is that I think that, more than anything during a year of COVID where we didn't have sport, there's a greater appreciation for that opportunity. We know we're not going to be Ohio State. We know we're not going to be Michigan in terms of having 100,000 people at a football game or 28,000 people at a regular season basketball game. But our sport is good. Our student athletes love it, and we're proud of it. So I think that coming out of COVID, there'll be just a greater appreciation for, what our student athletes try to accomplish while they're on campus.
Absolutely. Hey, Gord, I want to take a few minutes to thank you for joining me this morning and talking about the future of university athletics across the province of Ontario. Great to be connected with you again, and thanks for a few minutes. It's most appreciated.
Kevin, anytime. Really nice talking to you, and thanks for covering OUA sport.